The following program is brought to you in living color on RMC.
Hello, cave dwellers. Oh, hang on. We're off to a good start. My mic has the monitor on, so I can hear myself, and it's discombobulating. Where's my mic? God, you thought I'd be on mute, didn't you? There we go. Monitor's off. Right, hello, how are we all doing? And the music's really loud. Wow. Okay, look, if anything doesn't work tonight, I've got an excuse, okay? I've got a good excuse. You can see a picture on the screen. For the last 2 days, I have been working my backside off to extend the cave. And I'll tell you all about that in a moment. So if my brain stops working, if I'm slurring my words, if I can't think of the words, it's nothing to do with drinking. I've only just poured my first drink, which is the Cave Dweller beer that you see there. I'm just tired. I'm just knackered. Yeah, Retro Box Room says you're a little bit tipsy. No, not at all. Not at all. It's just exhaustion. But I wasn't going to miss the stream. So, who have we got? We've got Ralph, we've got Fair Fight, we've got Neil Marshall, we've got Geronimo Let's Play, David Sutcliffe, Costado, Mumbo. We've got Grant, Woody, who did the voiceover that you heard on the ident there. We've got Bitegeist, we've got White Dragon, we've got David Sutcliffe, we've got Kevin, we've got Dana, we've got Baz, we've got lots of names here who have submitted videos. And I've got to say, although I don't watch the videos in advance, just going by the number of videos that you've sent in, unless you've all sent me Quake, then I'm impressed by the number of games that you've come up with today. So well done, everyone. Say my name, says Pillock. Chris. We've got Mike who ordered a mug with his handle of Porno Mike from the RMC store. I've now got to make that, print that on a mug and send it out to him. As well as there was another fantastic mug order. I'm not going to spoil that one in case it's a surprise for a video for others, but you know who you are. Yeah, with your fantastic mug orders. I am the printer, Bitegeist. Yes. It was a pro job, Grant. You did a professional job of it. You may well have the first one, Ralph. You've certainly got an early one. So anyway, let me tell you about the cave here. So, this back wall. This is what you know. Crates. Not this bookshelf here. Crates. So these crates and this crate over here. It was a wall of crates. And then I moved it so you had more recently you've had a corner view, because I just wanted to give you some variety, and actually that didn't work so well because the RGB lighting doesn't come through the corner so well. You've got to have it flat. So I thought, okay, I want to have a flat wall again, but also I want some variety. So I've bought more furniture, and I've extended the cave all the way along this wall. That's my big comfortable chair there. So that's the desk that you know. This is the lab area. So what we've got now is this is a wall of systems. You can see some of them there. And I've done a lot more work since I took this picture. We've got potted plants in there now. I've got some really nice acrylic stands that hold the systems upright. So the systems are actually standing up nicely. So when I'm talking to you about systems, we've got the system wall behind me. And this shelf is wide enough. We've got a CPC 6128 on here now, so we can get all the systems out nicely on display. And when I'm talking to you about games, this whole wall is nothing but games. Okay, there's a few systems and boxes, but it's just a really nice display of games. So I can point the camera that way, I can spin the table around that way, or I can just sit on a chair there, or I can pull the comfy chair up and talk to you. And then over here, you've got the tool chest, and that white table that you can just see is the streaming PC with the monitors. So when I do tea breaks, I can turn the table to face that, and I can see my guest. Previously, the stream PC was in this corner and I couldn't see them. I was talking to them and I couldn't see them, so it's really nice to get it all set up. The bar is out of shot, yeah. No arcade wall. It's open for visits, yeah. And then next to the chair over there is the business corner where the desk is and the editing happens. So that's what I've been up to. Now, another thing has happened since yesterday. We had the P game, and some of you may remember this game. P was for Pom Pom Party. Just so happened there was one on eBay for £10. I wasn't going to buy it for £10. Who would buy that? So I put in an offer at £5. We negotiated. He accepted it £6.50 including postage. Clearly this seller just wanted to get rid of it. So you better hope and pray that you're not matched with me this year for Secret Santa, because you know what you're getting. Hello Mr. Green Fox, we've just started. Pom Pom Party video. So we've got some P games that are left over from yesterday. We've got some residual P. We've got the Q games. And I've got some Q games of my own. But let's start with the P games. Let's just catch up. Okay, we're going to dive in with Aidan, because Aidan has sent us an 11-minute video as we got to yesterday, and it'd been a long enough stream not to be able to play that. So we're going to start with this one. Let's see how it goes. Let's give him some volume. Aidan, of course, is down in New Zealand, so he's probably asleep right now, or at work. I have no idea what time it is.
In a world where JRPGs had only just been invented, one game came along to try and steal... Dragon Quest's crown. This game had a troubled history. The developer, Square, was reluctant to commit development resources to the project, as they didn't think such a game would sell particularly well. But the surprise success of Dragon Quest, known as Dragon Warrior in the States, changed this, and development began in earnest. Leading up to release, it was discovered that the chosen name, Fighting Fantasy, couldn't be used due to a series of choose-your-own-adventure D&D crossover books already using the trademark.
Books. Ian Livingstone's
coupled with Square's impending bankruptcy, making it possible that this would be the company's last game ever, the name Final Fantasy was chosen, and the game was released on December 18, 1987.
Thank you, Ben.
It looked and played pretty well, following the standards and tropes of the time, and obviously went on to be the first in an enormous line of successor titles, each of which was also brilliant in their own right. But we're not here to talk about Final Fantasy. You see, just 2 days after the first Final Fantasy was released, on December 20th, 1987, Sega released a game that instantly made Final Fantasy I look completely out of date.
You know he's from New Zealand because he says Sega.
Set in the Algol star system, Phantasy Star kicked off an incredible series of games, all of which are some of my favourite games ever. Phantasy Star featured a female protagonist, an incredible rarity for the time. You play as Alice, and you're on a roaring rampage of revenge to destroy the evil king who killed her brother. It featured a unique plot for the time, being not a medieval swords and sorcery setting, but a futuristic high-technology one. There are swords, shields and armour, yes, but the swords are titanium or other high-tech composites, and even a literal lightsaber, along with advanced laser guns. Armour is made of plastics and metals, or the Phantasy Star setting's version of unobtainium, Laconia. And shields are just as high-tech.
Do we have any Phantasy Star players in the chat? I remember my friend had this, my console-owning friend, and it's one of those games that you can't really play together, so you just have to sit and watch them play it. It was still enjoyable.
You start the story alone, exploring Palma, the first planet of the Algol star system. You soon gather companions, however. The wizard Noah, the warrior Odin, and your own little adorable ball of death, Meow the Musk Cat, all of whom join you to take the cruel King Lassic down. After a very long adventure, taking you to 3 separate planets via rocket, the desert planet Matavia, infested with antlions, and the frozen wilderness of Dezoris.
Clay, you're trying to get into this, are you?
You obtain all the items you need to finally reveal the location of Lassic. And your final battle begins.
Is that via emulation, or have they re-released it? Or is it through the store?
Or at least what you think is your final battle. The game's random encounters have large enemy sprites, all of them animated, spread across a wide variety of backdrops, all relevant to the terrain you're on.
Re-release on the store. Cool.
Magic spells can be used as well as physical attacks. And the game features 3D first-person dungeon mazes for you to explore, as well as huge 2D overworld maps. These impressive dungeons were coded by a young programmer who would go on to create quite a few more impressive games for Sega, but today is P, not S. I can't do Phantasy Star justice in just 2 minutes. If you haven't played it, definitely check it out, but we have to leave the first game there because just over a year later, on the newly released Mega Drive console, Phantasy Star 2 was the first RPG of any kind that I played, and it's a heck of an upgrade over its
Aiden, you're making me want to play
impressive
this.
As the first game was. Although the first-person dungeons are gone, replaced by labyrinthine multi-level 2D ones instead, and the battle backgrounds are now just a high-tech grid of some sort, as if you're fighting monsters in virtual reality. But I digress. 1,000 years have passed since Alice defeated Lassic, and things have changed a great deal. A system-wide computer network called the Mother Brain has managed every aspect of people's lives for centuries, and the population has become lazy and carefree as a result. You can see where this is going. On Matavia, the desert planet, a giant atmospheric system called Climatrol has transformed the desert into a lush, fertile world where food enough for everyone is grown in automated domed farms, and a bioengineering laboratory has genetically engineered life forms that can thrive here, providing even more plentiful food. But something's gone wrong. Nobody seems to be answering the phones at the Biosystems lab, and it's churning out dangerous biomonsters that are attacking people everywhere. Mother Brain insists that everything is fine, and Mother Brain
Elmo
never
is
makes
not
mistakes.
The biomonster.
This is where you come in. You're a government agent called Rolf, and you've been given a secret mission to infiltrate the lab and bring back its data recorder, so the truth of what happened there can become known.
Oh, Rolf.
Accompanying you on this mission is your ward, a young girl called Nye, who you found on the streets almost a year ago.
No, not quite
Nye
Neil.
doesn't remember very much about her early life, but she's clearly not fully human, a fact which has made her an outcast her entire life. She escaped from the Biosystems lab when she was very young, and was hunted and mistreated ever since, until Rolf rescued her and gave her a safe home. After a long journey through cities, towns, dungeons and forests, helped immensely by Nye, who is the deadliest fighter in your group. Despite her low defense stats, she's the fastest and the hardest hitting character you have, and can often take out 2 of the random encounter monsters in her opening move.
I'm not a fan of the VR fighting look. I like the look of the rest of it.
You finally reach the Biosystems lab and discover it full of incubation tubes, full of biomonsters. You retrieve the recorder and bring the data back to Central Tower, but now your mission gets far more dangerous because it's discovered that the biomonsters were planned, and a massive transfer of energy from Climatrol to the Biosystems lab was needed to create so many of them so fast. You, Nye, and the ragtag misfits you've picked up along the way set out to Climatrol Tower to attempt to find out who was responsible for the energy transfer. And you find the culprit was none other than Nye's twin sister, who despises the scientists at the lab for creating her as a mixture of human and biomonster DNA. She escaped just like Nye, but unlike Nye, she set out to plan revenge on all humans for what they've done. Nye fights alone to stop her, and the outcome is predetermined before you even make your first strike. I just have to pause the review here to say that Nai's my favourite character from any video game, and her particular story is one of the saddest in any medium. 8 years before Aerith meets her fate in Final Fantasy VII, we have a character that we've fought with and travelled with for months suddenly and permanently dead. I wasn't expecting it as a 10-year-old, and it was an utterly unprecedented plot twist to appear in a 1989 video game. 30 years after playing this for the first time, I went out and got a tattoo of the most badass chick in video games.
Now that's dedication to gaming. Well done, Aidan.
But, all sadness aside, at least you defeated the biomonsters now, right? I mean, they're all dead, they're all gone. Not a chance, you're only a third of the way through the game.
Yeah,
After this immense uphill slog, Mother Brain declares you and your friends to be criminal outcasts for destroying the lab in Climatrol and sends government robots after you. And you've just lost your hardest hitter. Making matters worse, billions of tons of water are pouring out of the destroyed remains of Climatrol Tower, years worth of rain supply, and the lake is threatening to burst and flood the entire continent.
For your lives.
The rest of the game takes you through the 4 dams blocking the rivers, onto a prison satellite, and over to the icy world Dazorus, where you meet someone who fought with Alice once 1,000 years ago. It turns out that when Alice defeated Lassic, something else was not quite dead.
No, not Ovaltine tonight. It's a bottle of Cave Dweller Ale.
And then you've got Mother Brain to kill, because it turns out she never did make any mistakes. Everything she did was very well planned indeed,
First beer
and
of
it
the
was
week.
all a giant conspiracy to make the people of the Algol system so meek and docile that they would be easy to conquer by her masters, a race of warlike aliens from a far-off planet called Earth. This video has already gone on far too long, so I'll just briefly mention Phantasy Stars 3 and 4 here. They both take place at roughly the same time, 1,000 years after Phantasy Star 2, but widely separated from each other in space. Phantasy Star 3 was developed by a different team, and it shows. This one is the game that fans of the series love to hate. It looks different, it feels different, and it's firmly a medieval-style adventure at first glance. However, it really is a fantastic
And there you go,
game,
the fight scenes
with an
actually
utterly
have
unique story,
scenery.
and it features a generation system that sees 3 successive generations of characters continuing the story to its surprising end. And these characters change based on who you choose to marry the previous generation's main character. It has one of the most amazing plot twists in any game, which completely belies the game's medieval setting. Definitely recommended. And
Good bass. The long struggle of ancient times finally ended. The victor sacrificed the vanquished to the heavens. 4 bells tolled, 4 torches were lit, 4 Scotch eggs were eaten, and the world continued for thousands of years. Hey, Lily.
Phantasy Star 4 is the best 16-bit RPG of all time. Fight me.
A bold statement.
This one needs an entire 10 minutes to itself, so I'll pull a Costado cliffhanger and leave you all there. This is Aiden signing off for now, and now this guy's going to start talking again. Bye.
No. Get that off the screen. So wrong. Hello, Philly Lily. How are you doing? Right back at you. What do we got going on here? So we've got 2 other P's. Yeah, my eyes too. We've got Matt. Oh, let's get to Russ. We've got Russ's P, because yesterday Russ's P just destroyed the computer. But today his video actually works. So let's see what Russ has got for us today.
What okay, dwellers?
What
now, I intended to show this game beginning with P on the real Amiga, which is down here at the moment. All well, however, after its brief run-in with a memory board which did not install correctly, lots and lots of flashing lights, and some, I bent Gary's pins, basically.
Oh,
but Gary. He's fine now.
Poor
So
Gary.
what I thought I'd do, I'd give some dirty emulation a go on the
Filthy.
Mac. And coupled with my ROMs that I got with the Amiga Forever pack, which I have for my PC, all seems to be well. Go.
Pixels, I've got your Q. I'll check for your P
Bigger, please.
shortly. I
There it
remember
is.
Pushover. I did enjoy this game.
And this is actually, I think this is the first game I remember with product placement in it. And here it comes.
Colin loses his quavers. Curly Colin.
Will you really? It's a nice bit of animation, that, I thought. And then the menu screen with a really catchy little tune on it.
Quavers are funny crisps, aren't they? They're like old toenails.
And of course, again, with the product placement. Now, basically, what it is, it's just a little puzzler. I mean, when I say little, it's actually quite long. So what you've got to do, you've got to knock this last boulder over, and this little guy is currently waiting for me to do that. So if I pick this up, walk it all over here, put it down, and we walk all the way back, and then we push it over.
Cool spot, says Paul. Do you not remember? Didn't Action Biker have product placement?
Congratulations, you completed a level. And this goes on and on and on. It takes quite a long time to complete. Right, there we go. It's pushover. Back to you, Neil.
Thank you. Yeah, pushover.
Also, Cave Dwellers. Now,
just Cool Spot had 7-Up. Zool had Chupa Chups. It's just a quality puzzle game because it keeps you coming back to play more and more, as all good puzzle games should. Here's Matt.
Good afternoon, Cave Dwellers.
Hello, Matt.
I go by Tater in the chat, and I also go by my actual name, Matt, in the YouTube stream. So I've commented a few times
Mr.
before, but I
Wimpy,
thought
yes,
I'd show
David.
you a few things in my retro setup, as well as my entry for today's letter, which is the letter P. Since this is my quarantine setup, and so I'm living right now with my fiance, who has a full house and everything, so it makes a little bit more sense for me to do it this way. But here's my recording microphone that I use whenever I do trumpet lessons, along with said trumpet and associated musical accoutrement. She's into sewing and crafting, and so has a whole setup for that as well. This is my Mister down here.
Looks suspiciously
which I love
like my
playing on
house.
this thing. It's a whole lot of fun to be able to pull up a lot of these old games and such and run them kind of more or less like they were designed to be, even though it's not actually hardware. It's the closest thing you can get. Along with my favorite controller in the world. This is one of I love these things. 8-Bit Dude did such a wonderful job with these, and they really work well.
I'll second that. They are great
controllers. This is the audio recording rig that I use whenever I do lessons. Get ready. Along with my PS4. There's the actual
PS4
tower
monitor
that
stand.
I have,
I didn't even
which
see
I built a little while ago. My 3D printer, which needs a little bit of work done to it, and also has this to do automatic bed leveling. This is
yes, please.
A sensor, basically, which allows me to try and I need to hook it to
Thank
the
you, Pixels.
board and the thing to make it work. But what I really intended to show you was not a bunch of old NES fonts, even though that's kind of neat. What I want to show you is this. Pool of Radiance was the earliest introduction I ever had to the world of Dungeons and Dragons. This was the old SSI Gold Box games based on the advanced Dungeons and Dragons rule set, and SSI made a number of these things throughout the the mid '80s, early '90s, and they're just absolutely fabulous games. Great storylines. I mean, really, really simplistic graphics, but you know what? You didn't need it at this point. So In fact, this game didn't even have proper sound blaster support. It just supported the PC speaker. And it was probably, I got so much mileage out of this. In fact, I never actually finished the game. They ended up publishing clue books that went with you. It gave you all the maps and such, in addition to all the other stuff. And this thing came with a manual that kind of described the basic AD&D 2 rules. And among other things, it also included an adventurer's journal, which that was it was absolutely vital to have it to play the game, because rather than spend a bunch of time on writing out all the encounter text, they just printed it in the book, and it would say you enter this as journal whatever number in your book, and you go and read it out of the book. And I thought this was a fabulous game in the late 80s, when I was really getting into things on my PC at home.
So all of these advanced Dungeons and Dragons games, they kind of passed me by. I was playing other RPGs, Ultima, which I always bang on about. Eye of the Beholder, that is a Dungeons and Dragons game, I know, but a very different engine to this one. I think this engine was used in a lot of games because they all look kind of similar, but they passed me by, so I'm really trying to catch up. And I was putting some of these on the shelves because I've got some of them now in the cave, as I was redesigning it today, and I really should go and try some of them. Do we have any people in the chat who used to play these?
But anyway, there you go, and that's my entry for today. Thanks a lot.
We're right at the end there. Thank you very much, Matt Tater. Yeah, I'm very interested in trying one of these out, but I would want to do it with the full boxed copy, with the manuals, with any maps and anything else included, rather than just firing it up on DOSBox and feeling completely lost. I think you need everything with you, don't you? Dungeon Master, yes, that was a good one. Did we do Russ? We did Russ, and we've got Pixels now. Let's finish downloading. So here's the last P, and then we'll move on to the Qs.
Hi everyone, it's Pixels at Dawn here.
Hello, Pixels.
And it's time for some P action.
Yes.
Now I'm going to show you a game. This isn't my original copy, but it's identical to the copy I got with my very first Amiga. It's a fantastic puzzle game that you should all love and should all know, but you won't. And it's Pushover.
Another one for Pushover. There's
You've
Colin
probably never heard of it,
Quavers.
but it's an amazing puzzle game. Probably one of my favourite puzzle games of all time. It comes in this tiny box because it was packed in with the Wild, Weird and Wicked pack, which I do have upstairs,
it's the
with my Amiga 600.
Giant.
Sponsored by Quavers. You
Giant.
can see Colin Curley up there doing his thing. It's like kind of like a domino rally kind of puzzle game, and all about rearranging the dominoes to open the exit and all those sorts of things. Very simple, but a lot of fun, a lot of character. But yeah, let's have a quick look inside. I urge you, nay, demand you go and play it immediately after watching this stream. Alright, so discs 1 and 2.
Disc 1.
Nothing too exciting there.
Probably
But you
just
can
for
see,
the intro.
even in those days, you could have a lovely looking manual. Even this
how many
tiny kind of
pages?
almost cassette-sized form factor. This game is no pushover, but it is. It's Pushover. Colin's lost his yummy Quavers down an anthill, and G.I. Ant, yes, that was the, the character's
G.I.
name,
Ant.
has to try and rescue them. You've got a little thing in here telling you what all the different types of blocks do, do's and don'ts, and hints
Saving
and
the
tips,
horn up for you, Mike.
because there was no internet back then, of course, or very little internet anyway. Yeah, there you go. So that is Pushover. Nice quick one, but an amazing game. See you again soon. Bye.
Thank you, Ian. Yeah, I knew this game. I'm surprised more people don't. I thought it was quite a well-known game, but I am mistaken. And it's a very enjoyable game. So, we're going to move on to the Q games now. And in doing so, we are going to start with my choice of Q games. And we'll see if anyone else has picked the same. Where are my Q games? Where did I put them? I've lost them. Fine. I'll just look. Oh, here they are. Here they are. Right, so Q. We won't have the sound, but no. Let's be honest. People are going to choose Quake. So if you're going to choose Quake, the Quake for me is Quake 3 Arena. I was a huge fan of Unreal Tournament. Quake 3 kind of went head to head with that, I think. I think that was the same sort of period. I think Unreal came first. Unreal Tournament. And then Quake 3 Arena, but correct me if I'm wrong. But very similar in that it was just all about the deathmatch. And it was fantastic. They were both Unreal Tournament and Quake 3 Arena were both great games in their own way. I think I played a huge amount of Unreal Tournament and then I played a huge amount of Quake 3. And I remember all the hype in both of those games about how good the bots were. It was all about how intelligent the bots were. And they were pretty brutal, as I remember. But you couldn't beat an online game. And to do well at it, it was all about knowing the maps. You could be the greatest FPS player in the world, but like any FPS game, until you're familiar with the maps, you're not going to win anything. So it was all about running around until you knew exactly where you were on every map. Jack says, I thought Quake was a bit boring. Well, the original Quake, some might say, you know, bit of a drab palette. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what others have to say about Quake, because I'm sure it will come up. And then my other Q game, that was thanks to Gameplay and Talk on YouTube. Thank you. Is this very apt for today? A game called Quarantine. Anyone remember this? 1994. This was basically Quake in a taxi. Sorry, Doom in a taxi, not Quake. Because it wasn't proper 3D, it was sort of pseudo 3D. 94, so it was before Carmageddon. Drive around, run people over. It was released on the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn later in 96 as Hard Rock Cab and Death Throttle. But that was in other countries. I always remember it as Quarantine. Do you remember the cover of the game was it was just a red box with a windscreen wiper wiping the blood off the windscreen. I didn't actually discover this game until I'd already played Carmageddon in 1997. So it felt like a big backward step, and I didn't play it a great deal. But if I'd found it in 94, I would probably have been a bit more hooked on it. And of course, it was controversial in certain countries because of the content. It played okay. Never quite felt like you were really driving a car. But that wasn't the point. It wasn't a driving game. So those are my Q games for you today. Let's see what you guys have got for us. Let's begin with... Let's go straight in with Pixels again. This is why the thumbnail made me laugh. Let's see what Ian's got for us. He's got his tape measure and he's got his calendar. Here we go. Yeah, what's he been measuring? Oh, look at that beard.
Hello there, Cave Dwellers.
Lustrous.
It's the dawn here. Might be wondering why I'm out in the garden. Well, that's because the game I want to talk to you about today, I don't actually own a copy of. So, I might as well come and have a bit of a doze outside. It's nice enough weather and all that kind of stuff. So, it's Q Day today. I couldn't miss out on the opportunity to attack the hard ones anyway. So, the game I want to talk to you about today is a game called Quasitron on the Spectrum. Quasitron was a very unusual game. It was effectively the Spectrum version of Paradroid from the C64, and it was a bit weird. I mean, it was a bit weird the way I was introduced to it as well, because I never played it back in its heyday in the '86 when it came out. But I used to run a Spectrum emulation site on the internet in the sort of 90s, early 2000s, and
I like this format.
Somebody popped up on there and said, "You really have to play this game." It's like, okay then, and it's great. It's a really good game.
It's like Gardener's
Quasitron,
World with retro gaming.
Playing this little droid, you go around a little isometric landscape. It's all part of the Citadel of Quasitron. And you as a droid are going around trying to destroy all of the other droids on all of the different levels of the Citadel in order to nick all their parts and make yourself awesome.
Flick screen.
And it's pretty cool. So you're going around. There's ramps, and it looks great. It's. I think it actually looks better than the original on the C64, which was a lot more top down. But it also has a really nice kind of feel and atmosphere, quite oppressive actually. So you can jump on lifts and go between the different levels, and you can zip around, and all the different droids that you come across have got different abilities. They've got different sort of categories. So you've got repair droids and battle droids and utility droids, and they have different levels of capability from 9 to 1, I think.
It looks a bit like a more interesting Spin Dizzy.
And you can grapple with them, which sounds a bit odd, but it's basically a little hacking game where you have to build these circuits in such a way that you highlight more of the little panels in the middle of the screen than the AI player. And if you beat them, you can then go and take some of their parts, assuming you haven't destroyed them in the course of fighting them. And obviously you start off really weak and meek little robots, and you have to go and try and work your way up. So attack the weak robots like a lion herding some gazelle, and you take those out, upgrade yourself, then go up to the more difficult ones, and then the more difficult ones after that. And eventually you become awesome, or you die, which is what frequently happens.
Just like real life.
Some of the nice things about it, though, is your little robot has a face, and that face indicates how damaged he is. And he has a little rotating thing on his head, which also gives you an indicator of the damage. So you're looking at the actual sprite to understand how healthy you are, how close to death you are. But yeah, it's a great little game. And something that I ran into after the fact. So there you go. That's Quasitron. This is a tape measure, and I'll send you back to Neil in the studio.
Thank you, Pixels. Very much enjoyed the garden setting, and the sound of the birds in the background. Very nice. Very nice. Pillock has sent a Q game. Well, I'll get to the back of the queue, Pillock. I've seen your email. I've got it there. But we've got a lot to work through, so let's bash through some quickly now. Let's go to David S. He sent in a picture. Now we can discuss Quake. David picked Quake. No text to go with it. He's just sent me a picture of Quake and said, "My game is Quake." And that's how this thing works. Pick a game. First time I had Quake, I had a 486 PC. It was an SX33, a Packard Bell, and I upgraded it to a Cyrix DX4 100 MHz chip. slapped it in there. Didn't know what I was doing. Didn't put a heatsink or a fan on it, but it worked. And that game, that computer ran beautifully. Unless I played Quake for too long. And then, of course, it overheated. But I could play it for a couple of hours. And it just about gave me a good frame rate. But you really did want to be on the Pentiums for it. And it was okay. My first impressions of Quake was... Okay, I like the technical aspect. I like that it's proper, true 3D. But I still like the story of Doom and the excitement of Doom. It just wasn't quite as exciting. Everything was a bit muddy. It was software rendering. I didn't have 3D FX at that point, so I couldn't experience it in all its glory. And then by the time Quake 2 came around, I had my 3D FX card, and the story was more interesting. It was more colourful. It was a better game. Quake 2 was definitely the better game. And of course Duke Nukem. You know, it was up against Doom and Duke Nukem, which were not true 3D, but just more interesting. But I did play it to completion because, you know, it was a good game. You like the Quake soundtrack? Okay, where are we going next? Oh, Rise of the Triads, that was a good game. Came a little later. Next up, it is Graham's choice. He says, "Thanks for all the great content, which is keeping us sane during lockdown. I'm not so sure about that, but you're most welcome. Here is my very short submission for Q. It's Quack. Who played this? For a 1 meg Amiga. For me, this was my Mario/Sonic platformer of choice in the 90s, says Graham. Developer Jamie Woodhouse is also behind the Android game Retro Racer, which is worth a look. And he sent a link, so I'm going to post that in there. There you go, and there's the back of the box. Fantastic super playable coin-op style action in this fast and furious cute platform romp. Join forces with a friend or go it alone with your little green duck and defeat the bad guys single-handed. Do ducks have hands? With heaps of bonuses and player rewards, a myriad of special features and much more besides, Quack is probably the most playable Amiga game ever. That is a hell of a statement. Quack is probably the most playable Amiga game ever. It's just Quake spelled wrong. 50 Hz frame update for super smooth action. Yeah, that is the rate our televisions run at. Not sure you have a choice. Written exclusively for the Amiga. Some pictures. Looks a bit like Orville the Duck. Oh, it was on the Acorn Electron, was it? Yeah, it does look a little bit 8-bitty. Not bitty now, bitty later. Mumbo. Mumbo's choice of game is Quackshot, starring Donald Duck. And Mumbo says, "Hi, Chrissy here. No, wait. I'm Mumbo. What's the letter, Quack Quack? It's Q for Quackshot starring Donald Duck for the Mega Drive. I also happen to own the Japanese version of it, which I was surprised to find in a charity shop years ago. That's a good find. I'm assuming you're in the UK and not Japan. I've never played it past a few stages for whatever reason. Not good enough, Mumbo. It's a 2D side-scrolling platformer where you get items needed to progress further in other levels. After finding a map inside of one of Uncle Scrooge's books, Donald and his nephews fly off in an aeroplane on a quest to find King Garuzia's great duck treasure. Donald is armed with a gun that shoots plungers, which stun enemies for a few seconds, popcorn, which kills enemies, and bubblegum, which destroys certain objects. All makes perfect sense. And there's a gameplay video. I've temporarily got the Duckburg, Mexico and Transylvania theme stuck in my head now. Back to Elmo in the studio. Do, 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 do. It's a duck blur. Thank you, World of Long Plays. There's a little shot of it. Orville was vomit inducing. Yeah, the animations were great in the Disney games. This and Mickey Mouse Castle of Illusions, wasn't it? Looked great. There we go, thank you, Mumbo. Next up it's Custado. Now I want to know if Custado is going to give me question of sport. See what he's got for us.
Yes.
Are we doubling up on the audio there? Here we go.
Yesterday Neil spotted a question of sport on one of my shelves.
I did, but I think we've lost the video. Let's get him back.
Yesterday Neil spotted a question of sport on one of my shelves.
Slow-mo replay.
I've never played it. It's probably not very good. I don't know the first thing about UK sports in the 70s and 80s. So, well, here's my entry for Q, a question of sport.
Yes, Custado.
For the Commodore 64.
That is what we call a high effort entry.
Back to the studio.
Well played, sir. Well played. In that entire room, Custado, you must have other games starting with Q. Can I get a rewind? Well played, sir. Johan's Q game.
Hello, Cave Dwellers. So
Hello,
today
Johan.
I'm gonna go for a franchise, mainly because I don't own the first game in the franchise.
I think that's a little quiet. Let me knock the volume up, and I promise not to air horn you.
Checkpoint.
As a boxed game. That franchise is going to be Quake.
Oh, Quake 4.
Now, Quake 4 is the only one I own actually unboxed, but as you can see, I do have all the games just in digital format. So that's it for me. Just a quick video. Oh, and the manual is 30 pages, by the way.
30
in
pages.
case you wanted to know that. So thank you, and back to the Retro Man Cave.
Thank you, Johan. Do you know, I don't think I've played Quake 4. Thinking about it, I think I was quaked out by Quake 4. I think I was a bit fatigued. Reese says Quake 4 gets so much hate. Why is that? Why do people hate on Quake 4? I mean, when did Quake 4 come out? Let me check. Weren't we thinking about things like Far Cry by then? Quake 4 came out in 2005. Far Cry came out in 2004. So yeah, I was more into the vast open world of Far Cry, but then I can't say, did Quake 4 have a vast open world? I'm guessing not. What was it all about? Tell me about it. Kevin doesn't even remember Quake 4. So I was well into Far Cry. We've had Pixels. Let's get a Ralph. See if we're in the garage or the house today. Oh, Halo. Yes, I was enjoying Halo also. Quake 4 looks better with some fan updates. recognise those hands. What you got for us today, Ralph?
Hello, Neil. How are you today?
Sorry, Ralph. So you've got your volume at a good level, and I'm blasting everyone's ears off. Here we go.
Hello, Neil. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Ralph.
I'm fine, thank you very much for asking.
How are you?
How's the cave?
How's
the cave dwellers?
How's the garage?
Now, Q. Q for the letter of the Q of the... It's quite a tough one, I thought. But then I was looking at the calendar the other day and thinking, this would be a really good calendar for the Q. So I actually thought long and hard and completely ignored the idea for the calendar and went for a quick shot joystick. Now, this was, apart from the joystick for the Atari, that little stumpy little thing which, surprisingly with the amount of hammer that they used to get, never used to break for me. But yes, these are old joysticks from way gone past. This is the quick shot one, 5-button, exactly the same. Yes, it's Spectravision, but it's a quick shot one joystick. Now, I used to play a lot of Daley Thompson's Decathlon on the Atari 2600, and the problem with that is it was kind of a copy of Track and Field for the arcade, and all you would do with the arcade was left, right for your buttons. So when you're running, quite easy. Or you go jump, quite easy. But with the joystick like this, left and right with the left and right feet, and then you would fire to run.
Ralph.
However, you'd never really have it stuck anywhere because you'd be sat in a chair in front of the television, your parents' house. So you'd have this in your hand, grab hold of the shaft and waggle like crazy. Now, at this time, I would think I was about 12-year-old. It does hurt quite a lot of the wrist, especially when you're doing the last one, which is the decathlon. Nearly 1,500 metres, but by God, it used to hurt. And I used to break a few of these, hence the quick shot 2. Even though it's a Spectrum video, this is a quick shot 2. You have 2 buttons, one on top, and the trigger button, auto fire as well. They're amazingly simple joysticks for the time, but they were better at waggling. Keep it waggling while you're going, but you could never fire it properly to get your jump. Hence, that was a lot better for doing that with. Anybody with a dirty mind, please leave the room. But this is how joysticks were. There's other games that are out there which were definite joystick killers. But this was mine. And then the Quick Shot 1 and the Quick Shot 2. Joysticks from Spectravision. So, thank you for watching. And back to the studio.
Thank you, Ralph. Yes, as always, go subscribe. I think most people here have subscribed to Ralph, but Retrotech Ralph over on the YouTubes. Now, the one on the right, this is the one I remember with the big square buttons. Don't remember the one with the round buttons. So that's obviously, as you said, the first version. I'm sure the insides are exactly the same, just a different shaft and different buttons. And for you to say you played Daley Thompson's Decathlon and you didn't break them is incredible, because I got through so many joysticks to the point where I had to get a Conix Navigator, which was the handheld one with the short stubby top, so that I could play those games without breaking joysticks. Got through so many joysticks. But a great video. Yes, thank you, Ralph. Next up from Retrotech Ralph to Retro Box Room. Ooh, this is an unusual choice. I'm being scratched in the leg by a gizmo. Let's make sure we've got some audio.
Thanks, Neil. Hi, Cave Dwellers. Well, this is the only 8-bit game I could find that started with Q. It's for the Amstrad.
How do you say
obviously. It was made by Gem Software back in 1986. I bought this at the Blackpool Expo last year. Loaded with other games as well, but it had no manual. And it seems to be that's how it was pushed at the time. It must have come from a box set or something like that.
Quabala?
And I had to look at the manual. And in the manual, it describes it as Cabela is an exciting three-dimensional arcade adventure game where you play part as of an aspiring acolyte seeking union with a godhead. And basically it bases itself on the idea of the Tree of Life, and you're supposed to go through different levels and get yourself closer to God. That's the whole point of the game. It seems that you're supposed to collect some keys and a snorkel to get you going. That's what it mentions in the manual.
Keys and a snorkel?
Let's load it up on the 6128 Plus. Oh yeah, I've got to plug in the tape deck. Just one moment. Well, I found the cable. Just plug it in the back here. Where's the socket? Over here, isn't it? There we go. There'll be some confused faces right now from the cave dwellers. Right, let me go get the tape deck, load this game up. Once it's loaded up, you're greeted with this menu. Let's press 1 for moderate.
Impossible. Because we want to play a game on impossible mode.
And then just look how exciting this game is. Now, 3-dimensional. We would call it isometric nowadays, I think. But the one thing that I find interesting about this game is that it scrolls to the left. Well, you can go right again, but
you progress to the left.
Seems to be forcing you to go to the left. So somewhere in here, there's supposed to be keys and snorkels and things.
Yeah, look at those colours.
Different things can hurt you. As in, I've just landed on a bush, and that can harm you. Got to get round this building. Now, I'm not slowing anything down in the capture. This is how slow this game actually is. Let's see where we are now. And this acolyte looks like a, I don't know.
It's like E.T.
Looks unusual, let's put it that way.
I don't know.
Let's go through this house or this building.
In Pat Butcher's coat.
Let's jump, see if we can get up there. So as you can see, a lot of the time you don't actually get to see where you are, and yet you're supposed to figure your way around. And there's skulls chasing you, and poisonous bushes and things like that. And for whatever reason, it's a big deal when you jump because you get that sound effect. But that's it for now. Back over to Neil.
Thank you very much. A really interesting choice. Well done, sir. Not heard of that one. Not for resale. So, what did it come with? I'm sorry, the cat is rubbing herself on the microphone. Yeah, what did it come with if it was not for resale? Did it come with the 6128? Well, did it come with some hardware? Right, Gizmo, you done with the microphone? Yeah? What are we doing here? You're going to rub your face on my chest. There's a Gizmo. Are we done? Can I carry on with the stream now, please? What do you reckon? Right. Right, she's just going to lie on the desk. There. Yeah? Happy there? Gonna use them. Okay, that's what's happening here. Okay. Stop pressing keys. Okay, I think we can carry on. That was Retro Box Room. Let's go to the Psychedelic Richard next. Hang on, she's knocking drinks over. Richard? Richard? Where are you, Richard? Here we go. Brace yourselves.
QA? Job done. Clearly I couldn't produce a quality video like this without help, so I do need to thank Pullock and Dave on sound, Andrew on video, and the following for editing and putting up with this shit.
That was a poorly timed beep. We've seen that game. What's going on? I don't understand. You just put in my credits over your choice of game. It's not the end of the show. should have saved this one for the end.
QA. Job done.
That's it. Thank you, Richard. Tremendous effort. I've still got a gizmo here. Lovely stuff. Right, I'm trying to see round things. It's Tim's turn. Put your bum down.
Hi there, Tim here. Letter Q. Not many games starting with Q, but the ones I considered: Quake, Kicks, and Qbert. But I've picked this game, which is a modern Spectrum game called Quadrant.
Oh, where did you get
that
from?
And I picked it 2 reasons. Firstly, it was actually included in a number of gifts that Neil sent to me earlier this year. Very own Neil from Retro Man Cave.
That's me.
As I support him on Patreon, he once a year sends me some cool stuff. So yeah, well worth doing if you can. And so it then got me thinking, well, I've got to see what this game's like. So of course I got a Spectrum out. I think it was 2+ that I've got, and I actually cracked open the tape recorder, put it in, and had a go at loading it. It took me 3 attempts. First one, it failed on the loading screen. The second one, towards the end, it just hung, and then eventually, when I'd messed around a bit with the levels, it loaded okay, and it just made me reflect on how long it had been since I'd done that. And I reckon it was probably in either 85 or 86 that I had actually last loaded a game in a Spectrum. So thank you, Neil, for reviving those memories of the interesting experience it was to try and load some of these things. The frustration sometimes that came with buying something and then spending a while trying to get it working. Even worse if somebody had put something on a C90 for you using a ropey tape recorder, and you spent an eon trying to load it and never actually got to experience it. But yeah, that's my cue. A fun little puzzler arcade game. That was a gift from Neil, and I guess that's my cue to say I will see you for the letter R. Hi there.
Thank you, Tim. Yes, so everyone who was a patron on the gift box level got this year a Monster Joystick Mini and a copy of Quadron, because Chronosoft contacted me and said, hey, we've made this new game for the ZX Spectrum, are you interested in it? And I said, I'm not sure it's something I can make a video on, but I'd like to support you, so can I have 25 copies, please? Or however many it was about that. And they all arrived within the week, and I put them in all the Patreon boxes. So I was really happy to support the developers in some small part and give the patrons something to do. And in that instance, give Tim a flashback to those old experiences, because if you're into your Spectrum, we often have things like the Div MMC, where you can just slap an SD card in now and it's so easy, but every now and then it's nice to just load up a tape, isn't it? Especially if it's a brand new release and you just want to relive in the entirety, if only once, because this does come with a code so you can get a digital version. If only once, just load it up and enjoy it. Tapes rule. I did enjoy your joysticks, Ralph. Next up, it's Kevin, aka Zoinks. So let's see what Kevin's got for us.
Get ready.
Get ready.
Hello, Cave Dwellers. Well,
Hello,
for
Kevin.
Q Day, I could think of no more appropriate game than a game about a cabin.
So we're on the Sinclair QL, the machine from Sir Clive Sinclair that was supposed to take businesses by storm and didn't. And I've got one that I need to fix, so we'll have a series on it soon. But I'm just pausing here because we've got a price tag from Boots the Chemist. Because in the 80s in the UK, and in the 90s to some degree, the early 90s, you went and bought your video games from the pharmacy. Boots, Superdrug, or the stationers, W.H. Smith. Because it was such an easy thing. Video games, cassette tapes were such an easy thing to put on a peg. So you could just have a spinning thing of pegs with games on. and they went everywhere. But for some reason, pharmacies.
QL Cavern. Unfortunately, one of the games that no longer works, so I can't demonstrate it on my QL. So I dug out a contemporary issue of QL User Magazine from, I think, July 1985, and I'll just have a quick flick through this.
Gizmo's operating the
one
mouse.
One thing going through these magazines is surprising just how much software was available for the QL. I didn't get to experience an awful lot of it because of financial constraints at the time. But yeah, it was pretty well supported in its short little lifespan. The must-have for the QL really was a monitor because it had this strange, I think it was 85 or 90 column mode that didn't fit on most standard displays at the time. Here are the cartridge containers now, which command ridiculous prices on eBay. So I wish we'd all kept hold of those. Let's just flick a bit further through here. You can see there was floppy disk adapters and drives available for the QL, machine code listings, basic listings. We must have had a lot more patience back then. Somewhere I have one of those transform boxes, and in it is most of my missing QL software. I think another trip to the loft is the only alternative for that. Yep, another floppy disk interface card. I wish I'd had one of those, then my micro drives wouldn't be the weak point. Moving on. Articles. As you notice, most of the stuff in the QL was very technical. It certainly wasn't like one of the modern PC gaming magazines. There we go, for AI, all the way back then in 85.
I don't remember seeing the QL at school. QL bargains.
An index of all the games. And here we are, QL Caverns. I don't really remember much about the game, but as it was one of the few games I could afford to own, I'm sure I spent many hours playing it. The interesting review, no scores, but
doesn't look like
they've sort of set it up as the benchmark
a huge step up from a Spectrum, does it?
68,000 processor, saying that this could be the game that propels the QL. It's quotes like the Rolls Royce amongst games. I'm not sure it was that good. And as we move on, just noting that this was £12.95 in Boots, because yes, back then you could buy your software in Boots. And that's more or less the end of the magazine. Just the Cub monitor.
Ooh, that transforms it, doesn't it? Look at that sexy monitor. How am I going to find myself one of those? I've never seen a black Cub monitor. I need this in my life. Look at it. That's lovely, that is.
Holy Grail for QL owners. Something that was out of my league, unfortunately, though. And that's the July episode of the QL User Magazine. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Kevin. Oh, I've got measurements.
Hello, Kevin.
Some high-tech measuring going on there. Really nice, Kevin. Get your Thrustmasters out. So QL Caverns was the Rolls Royce of video games, was it, on the QL? Blimey. It didn't look particularly impressive from the screenshot. But of course, Sir Clive Sinclair famously didn't particularly enjoy the fact that the ZX Spectrum was so popular as a video games machine, and the QL was meant to be a business machine, so I'm sure it wasn't engineered to be a better games machine. It was engineered to do everything else. I'd still be interested to see what the Rolls Royce of games is like on the QL. So Daniel has sent us an interesting one. Yes, it's Quake 1, which we've seen, but here we go. keep you on a cliffhanger. It's a mod from back in the day. Quake Rally. Did anyone play Quake Rally? Look at it. They've stuck go-karts or rally cars in Quake. I remember reading about this, but I never tried it. It's fun to see it in action. I mean, this is the beauty of the PC and the mod scene. It is not a new thing on the PC. You know, people have been hacking games for as long as they've been coming out, but Quake, games like that, you know, a lot of the first-person shooters made it official. Yes, you can mod it, and we're going to make it easy for you to mod because it gives more longevity to the game. And he's also sent another one, which is Airquake, which looks like this. I've never heard or seen of Airquake. Looks like we're running in OpenGL here. Ah, Quake as a flight sim. Night, Ralph. Well, I've never seen that before. It looks fun, but I tell you what, it still looks very brown. Afterburner didn't look this brown. Quake burner after Quake. Well, that's fascinating. Thank you very much, Daniel, for that. Dana has sent me... Wow, Dana has sent me an essay of 3 games. Okay, so let's go through them one at a time. Okay, let's get the advert out of the way. This is on the YouTube channel Smite, who I should give a subscription to because we're watching their video. Here we go. We'll watch a little bit of this. I was going to submit the legendary Quintet trilogy of RPGs before I realised I have 5 games from Quintet. So, as a little extra treat, I'll give you a quintet of Quintet. Quintet is a Japanese developer. You may not recognise their name, but a game many of you are likely familiar with is their debut title, action/god game, hybrid ActRaiser. ActRaiser. One word, not ActRaiser. But now we get on to the big ones. I've included some links to gameplay videos since this is rather a lot of text to get through with nothing on screen, but I hope you'll find it interesting as I do. The Quintet Trilogy is a series of RPGs that is somewhat legendary and nearly impossible for anyone outside of Japan to experience in its entirety at the time. Is this Soul Blazer? Yes. So, for this game, this is the first in the series, Soul Blazer. Soul Blazer in its home country, this was released in English in the US, but its English release in PAL territories is ludicrously expensive. It's generally considered the single rarest and most expensive PAL SNES game out there, which is why my copy is Japanese. Note to any bargain hunters, the white label PAL Soul Blazer is not the English version. So there you go, that is the single rarest and most expensive PAL SNES game, Soul Blazer. Look out for that at car boot sales. Oh, we've got an eBay listing. Let's check it out. Oh, look at that! $2,000. Lord. Looks pretty battered as well. $2,000 for a video game. Make an offer for $5. And then we move on to the Illusion of Time. They get a sub. Got some Mode 7 graphics. Next up we have Illusion of Time, at least in PAL territories. This is known as Illusion of Gaia elsewhere and is probably the easiest to come by of the Quintet trilogy. It was published by Nintendo outside Japan, and there was a promotional edition in the US that included a t-shirt, which is now a very valuable collector's item. It's amazing how a t-shirt makes a game more valuable, isn't it? I bought the game Messiah once, which came with a t-shirt. I used it for painting and decorating. It's probably worth a fortune now. There's not much else to say other than this is a beautiful action RPG and thoroughly worth your time if you enjoyed the likes of Secret of Mana. Looks good to me, looks very slick. Yeah, I like it. And then the final one. Can we have the link, please? Custado has very valuable t-shirts. Finally is Terranigma. Terranigma. Right, I'm just checking that my pronunciation. Finally, it's Terranigma, a game American RPG fans are still whining about to this day. God, pack it in, American RPG fans. As it's the extremely exceptional case of a SNES RPG being released in PAL territories and not North America. Like the other two games in the trilogy, it's full of beautiful sprites, music, and melodrama. Oh, and a melodrama epic narrative. That is to say, it's a SNES action RPG. That tile set looks very much like Ultima 8, but with anime characters. I've not explained much about these games outside the complicated history surrounding them, but they really do speak for themselves. If you're a fan of the genre, these are shining examples of some of the best of the era. Yeah, they certainly look nice. So that was, in reverse order, Terranigma, Illusion of Time, and Soul Blazer, which Dana calls the Quintet Trilogy. Thank you, Dana. As always, I appreciate the tremendous effort that you put into your submissions, and we all learn so much. So we've got a cave tour to go, and I think also a couple of last minute submissions. If I can just work my way around the cat. Russell has sent a unsolicited joystick picture. Let's save that. What you got for us, Russell? Ooh, look at the knob on that. Russ says, here is my old joystick of choice, the quality joystick. Is that what it's called? Yes, it is called the quality joystick. You can't go wrong with a name like that. Built like a tank and still going to this day. CPC 464 on a button. Now that is a quality joystick. Nulani says, that's a quality joystick. I know a quality joystick when I see one. And that is a quality joystick. What do you think, Gizmo? Quality joystick? Is that a quality joystick, Gizmo? She just wants to be stroked. Lots of Gizmo. You like the Gizmo, do you? Oh, I can just give Gizmo the mic if you like. Yeah, Gizmo, what do you reckon? Not a lot to say today. She just wants to reach out and touch me. You're right, mate. I think she's just attention seeking today. So that is a quality joystick. What have we got next? Daniel has sent in a last minute Q game. It's a YouTube link, so we can just pop that up. Better give Junior Blitz a sub. This game is, it says seizure warning. I should probably put the mic up to my face. There's some 60, yeah, we've skipped the flashing, so that's cool. This is QuadNet. The game blew my socks off when I came across it in the early 2000s. I'd only just graduated from a 486 to a B90, so I had low expectations at the time. I didn't know this, but it's clearly inspired by Tempest 2000, which is still one of my favourite games to this day. Dan. Looks pretty cool. Looks like it could have been a very enjoyable 2D game on a 2D plane that has just been put onto that 3D plane to give it all of the awesome effects. Hadouken! Yeah, no Qbert so far. I'm amazed. And Bitegeist has sent in a last minute submission. Thanks for your sterling work, your channel, and especially the editing is a pleasure to watch. Well, Gizmo does all the editing, not me. Due to your love of the Strad and your CPC 464, do we call it the Strad now? Being incomplete along with your newly acquired Ender Pro. Oh yeah. Oh, sent me a link to Thingiverse. What have we got on Thingiverse? Ah, yes, the tape counter has broken on my CPC 464. So here is the little bit that snapped to put back into the counter and get it working. Thank you, sir. Very useful. I'll have a go on that. I don't know if this was supposed to be for tonight or not, but Bike Guy says I was on Brookside for 3 years. Can I share this, Bitegeist? I think you're in the chat. Can I share this information with the general public? Is he still there? I think he's gone. Okay, so Bite Guy says I was on Brookside for 3 years as Jason Shadwick for my sins. The blonde, floppy-haired bloke, minus the top, is me.
Sugary, sugary.
Gizmo is now operating the soundboard. Buried under the patio. This is him. The guy, the blonde there with no top. There you go, that's Bitegeist from Brookside. We've got a celebrity on the channel. We're going to have to dig deeper into this history. Thank you, Bitegeist. And keep that. Okay, we're all caught up on the emails, and we've just got one cave tour from Bjorn, which I'm very much looking forward to. So, oh, look at that. Let's get some volume on this thing. Gizmo, this looks awesome. Pay attention. Look at this. You watching?
Good evening, cave dwellers.
Oh, hang on.
My name is Bjorn.
Gizmo's on the spacebar. There we go. If we just put the keyboard on Gizmo. There we go. Can we do that, mate? Is that alright? Keyboard cat.
Living in Sweden, and I thought I'd give you a quick overview of my man cave here. this is the preferred spot of the house, obviously. Features a few systems, all connected and ready to use at a daily basis.
3000.
So we'll start off with my Amiga 3000. It's my preferred computer. It's my main retro system. It is the original machine that I traded my Amiga 1200 for back in 1996, and I've kept it ever since, even though it's been stored quite a lot of years in the attic. But it has been brought down and restored to its former glory, and also expanded quite a bit. It features a 68060 processor, Cybervision 64 graphics card, a network card, a SCSI card, and some other expansions. It's great for productivity. I use it listening to music, programming, doing ASCII art, communications, and a bit of gaming as well, but generally other uses. It has been, it features still the same workbench setup that I configured back in, I think, the date of retirement for the first retirement for this machine was in 1998. So I'm running Dopus 5 Magellan as a workbench replacement, and I'm very, very happy about this one. It's easy to use, it's fast enough, and it has all the features I need. If we look up here, we see the Enlightened Commodore logo with some LED strips there, but this main machine over here is Morph OS Mac Mini G4 system, 1.5 gigahertz, that is running my BBS. It's DLG Professional 2.1, and I can really recommend using that if you want to configure your BBS. It's great system friendly, working seamlessly with the Morph OS system.
I have the very same Mac Mini, G4 Mac Mini, and I really want to put Morph OS on it. So I must get round to that at some point, because it seems like the perfect use for a Mac Mini now, doesn't it?
Based on modules, so it's fast and easily configured, and I haven't run into any problems whatsoever by using this semi-modern hardware, but the traditional BBS software. I have to say I'm sorry for the flickering of the screens, the CRT screens. I couldn't really get the settings on my iPhone to accept them, but I just switched over so you could see the workbench from the Morph OS system, and I really enjoy it a lot. I recommend you trying out and dwelling with a bit with Morph OS. It's a great system. It's funny. It's very much familiar if you have been using the Amiga for some time. So heading over to the other Amiga. This is my Amiga 1200 that I actually found in the trash bin a few weeks back. So I consider that to be quite a nice find, and it has undergone a trash to treasure improvement here. Some retrobriting, and also received a hard drive and
really makes them
a Scan Plus AGA to be able to run on a modern screen there. That I'm using due to, well, it takes enough space as it is. So I'm currently awaiting 68030 expansion card that, due to the COVID lockdown, is trapped in a storage in Belgium. So hopefully at the end of May I'll be able to complete the trade and give this beauty some more.
Bjorn sent this to me.
Some more speed and especially memory.
Directly.
If we look into this,
very quiet.
Expansion-wise, it's quite. It hasn't got that much, but it's connected by both serial null modem and also a parallel cable, magplip cable that I'm using Envoy with, Amiga Envoy. It's a great networking system between Amiga computers, so I could actually easily mount other devices. So this is now one of the hard drives from my Amiga 3000 that is mounted by the parallel cable, so makes easy file transfers, and if you would like to, also printer sharing and other stuff. Works.
Sorry to pause it, but I do love the regional magazine there. So Dator for the Commodore 64, 128 and Amiga, 1988. This is obviously from, I'm not quite sure what country Bjorn's in, but yeah, the haircuts were the same the world over in 1988, weren't they? Greppa Joysticken.
Really, really nice. And the serial cable is, of course, if I want to do some multiplayer gaming between the Amigas. Moving on to the non-Commodore stuff here. This is my 133 megahertz Pentium computer running Windows 95.
Oh, he said Sweden. Okay.
And as you can see, it's a really ugly beast down there. This was donated to me by a colleague, and I actually downgraded it a bit, but brought it back to mid to late 90s setup. Also features a Roland sound module, SC55, works great for gaming, and especially I like the adventure games of the mid to late 90s that I never played because I was using my Amiga for such a long time. So it has been a great time to revisit some of the games that I only heard about but never played. This one also is connected to the network, of course, and by using FTP, it's quite easy to get files into it. And
yes,
using that system, I could also transfer files further to my Commodore 128, which was actually the first computer that I ever had. It was bought by my father in quite early 80s and has been in the family possession ever since I brought it down and restored it a bit a few years back. So this one features a 1541 disk drive that is connected to the Pentium through a XE1541 cable. So I could use Star Commander and transfer files to this one if I want to download some new demos or games or other fun stuff. What we can see here is also some of the boxed original games that I
like
purchased back in the days. I wasn't ever a big collector. Maybe a few bits and pieces of pirated software has gone through my collections and my hard drives during the years. But a few of them, at least, were bought in good order. Some discs, and also the preferred joystick, the Vico Boss, the best joystick ever. I could never really understand any other joysticks. This was really the best ones around, and that's why I keep 4 of them at home if I need to do some multiplayer action. I'd also like to say a few words about this painting here that is done by a friend of mine. It features a landscape painting from northern Lapland, Sweden.
I'm not saying a lot,
and obviously the addition of a Moonstone Knight, the red knight, always the one I used to play. So this is a custom piece of artwork that I think fits perfectly in the man cave.
Really nice.
Some computer magazines of the 90s and 80s, and a 3640 expansion card by
really
John Chucky Hertel.
Focus.
That
she likes it.
Think fits there. Very nice. I used the same card, but obviously populated in my Amiga 3000 as well. And here is a piece of workbench for soldering and restoration projects. this here is a
like a
invite disc for the demo party that we're hosting in 5th to 7th of June. It's going to be stream only, but check into that if you're into
send me some details, Bjorn, on the demo party, and I'll be happy to share that.
And just ending it all with some overview of my
Mark, it might be CRT wine if you can hear a high-pitched noise.
Over to the
my mic is barely
computer
audible.
here.
Hold on.
Which is obviously
Are you winding me up?
to my BBS.
You're winding me up, Philip.
So, thank you so much, Neil, for hosting a great channel and doing some awesome work here during the COVID lockdown. And cheers to you all. Hope to see you again soon. Bye.
Thank you, Bjorn. That was a fantastic tour. Just so nice because... Stop winding me up. I know the mic is fine. I can see the VU meter. Stop it. You're colluding. Now, it's not only has it got awesome kit, it's almost like it's so well organized that it looks like there's not a huge amount of stuff in there. But there is. It's just so well organized. And I love it. I really love it. Don't make me turn this up to maximum volume and deafen you all. So that's all our videos for today, everyone. We've got a couple of things left to do. One is to say that now I've done this, I'm going to make a video tour. Right, before I go on, is the mic all right? Is the mic all right? Because you're winding me up. If it's too quiet, I'll fix it. But it looks all right to me. We're not going to continue. Yes, good. Thank you. Right. So I'm going to do a patron, like a full-blown tour for the patrons, because the reason the cave can be expanded is because of the support that you give me, and I always like to reinvest. You know, the commitment is not just the finances, but the commitment that you put into me, into giving you a better show, and that's why the cave is bigger. So I'm going to do you a tour, and then publicly out of that tour, what I want to do is a suggestion that I don't know if it came up in the chat or if I spoke to Reese about it recently, Controller at Reese, but I want to do a video where I show people some tips and tricks of like what kind of lighting do I use, how do I make the system stand up on the shelves, what capture system do I use, things like that. So I'll break down the cave into certain areas: lighting, capture, shelving, storage, things like that. And then I want to put an invite out to you guys, and I'll give you more information before we do this on exactly what I'm looking for, but for you to send in me your solutions, because I've seen things like Pints and Amiga stream, their incredible switching box setup. Well, let's get a closer look at that and let's show the world. You know, Matt's cave, Controller, Reese's cave, Ralph's caves, everyone's caves. Let's just focus in on certain subjects. How do you store stuff so you know where it is? How do you get that lighting really nice? What camera do you use? And then I'll put it all together in a video to release on the main channel, and we'll help people to improve their caves. We'll give you guys lots of nice exposure for your channels if you've got a channel, or if you just want to show off your cave. And hopefully we'll get a good video out of it. So I'll keep you... what carpet tiles do you have? I'll keep you updated. And then the last thing to do is we're going to do another impromptu raid like we did the other night, because it just absolutely made Pints and Amiga's day. Morgan Just Games is streaming his Amiga gaming. Here's a link in the chat. If you've sent any emails during the stream that I haven't covered yet, Pillock, we'll start the next stream on Monday with them. Next stream on Monday is... what are we up to? Q. R. Games beginning with R. There must be loads. retromancave@gmail.com. Send that in. Here's the link to Morgan Just Games. Go in there, shout raid in the chat. Let's go and give them a nice surprise. And I'll see you quiz night tomorrow on Twitch. Our games on Monday. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. And bye-bye from Gizmo. Still here on the keyboard. Take care, everyone. Go and raid.